Hello and welcome back. Today I wanted to carry on looking at two NASs that I've mentioned on the channel several times. There's been no news of a brand new 4-bay from QNAP or Synology in the coming months, and quite frankly right now these are kind of the two best 4-bays you can buy for the middle of the road, all features at the best value price NAS from these two respective brands. So even though I've done a comparison not unlike this before, when I did that comparison these two devices had only just been released. I believe it was the closing stages of 2017 or maybe early 2018. So right now into the first quarter of 2019, I thought I'd revisit these two NASs for those of you out there that are considering buying these and are either one, worried about which one they're going to need to buy, or two, are these older devices still up to the task? Well, first and foremost, we are looking at the QNAP TS453BE. It's a revision of an original device, the TS453B. That was released a few months before, and this is one that doesn't include the remote control or any of the other stuff. This is the TS453B, the BE, that retails for about 400 quid with 2 gig of memory and 440 quid with 4 gig of memory. Over here we have the Synology DS918 Plus. This device retails for about 420 quid, so straight down the middle, and it arrives with 4 gig of memory, DDR3L memory in both of these devices. So this arrives in 2 or 4 gig, and this arrives with 4 gig. Now both of them have got the same CPU, that's the Intel Celeron J3455. It's a 1.5 GHz CPU that can be burst up to 2.3 GHz per core. Both of them support AES and I-level encryption, and both of them can support up to 40 cameras in their respective surveillance software, Surveillance Station and QVR Pro, as well as its own version of Surveillance Station 2. Both of them have got a great selection of first-party apps, but there is just no denying it, the first-party apps on the Synology are better. QNAP are catching up very, very quickly, and some of the applications they've been putting out there, especially QMaggie, along with some business level applications, are genuinely impressive, and that QVR Pro software is incredibly proficient too. But applications like Synology Chat, Synology Office, Synology Drive, Synology Moments, Synology ActiveSync and more mean that the Synology first-party apps are just better. And if that is a priority to you, then first-party apps, and you want to buy a NAS that arrives with all the software that you're going to use, then this could well be the device for you. Whereas the QNAP, if you're going to utilize software that you already own, you're going to use mapped network drives, you're going to be utilizing third-party software, then this could well be the one for you, because it arrives with support for a lot more third-party applications, both in its own application center and via client applications on mobile and Windows devices. Now they both arrive with their own warranty. The QNAP arrives with 2 years of warranty. The Synology arrives with 3 years of warranty. The Synology also arrives with BTRFS file system, which is a great deal better and faster for background snapshots, and it has that self-file file healing system in place. Along with that, SHR, Synology Hybrid RAID, means that with this device you can mix and match drives, something you're not going to do at the beginning, but it's something you might do a few years down the line, and it's something I'm surprised QNAP doesn't have their own version of. Both devices, other than those advantages I've just given to the Synology, both of them support RAID 0, RAID 1, RAID 5, RAID 6, RAID 10 and more, but only the Synology comes with its own proprietary RAID system that lets you mix and match drives. The QNAP, on the other hand, has a number of its own advantages. For a start, it arrives with more camera licenses for that surveillance platform. On top of that, the device can be upgraded in a number of other ways that the Synology just can't. So let's talk about hardware. And this is somewhere I genuinely believe the QNAP will dominate, because on the software support and warranty and stuff like that, the Synology definitely gives you more for your money. In fact, when you do spend £420 on the DS918 Plus, there's no denying that the majority of that money is going towards that software. Their software has been researched and developed very, very well, and that is where the majority of that money comes in. In most cases, when you compare a Synology or a QNAP NAS, you will find that the QNAP gives you more hardware for the same price as a Synology, but these two happen to be very similar on the internal hardware department. So let's talk about hardware. Let's remove QNAP from the camera and we'll focus on this Synology. Now the Synology here, this DS918 Plus, is a 4-bay NAS storage device. There is actually a 5-bay version of this device known as the 1019 Plus that was released a few months ago, I think 2 months ago or so. but this is pretty much the same thing. We've got LED lights there on the side that denote system health, access and drive health, as well as a USB 3 port at the bottom for quick accessing USB backups. The 4 trays on the front can be locked with a key that arrives with the device, and if you slot it open, the trays inside have got screw holes for 2.5-inch drives and SSD, as well as click and load clips on the side that let you install drives without need of a screwdriver, although you will need a screwdriver for 2.5-inch drives. The sides of the device have got the logo there, and that logo is completely ventilated, so you can get that nice passive air flow throughout the device, which is then assisted with the fan on the rear that I'm going to show you in just a moment. If we go to the rear of the device, we can see we've got the 2 rear fans where the RPM can be adjusted dynamically, automatically or manually to heighten or lower the RPM to increase airflow or lower noise levels on the device. And again, it's worth mentioning that this device can also have the LEDs dimmed as well. On the rear, we have got 2 LAN ports for link aggregation, so we can have 2 LAN cables connected to this device that will allow you to have up to 2 GBE connectivity, as well as an eSATA port for expanding the storage of your device with the DX517. Also on the rear, we've got a power connector with the external power brick and another USB 3 port there for supported peripherals such as UPSs and wireless dongles, or UPSs, all to that. On your course, you can utilise that device for external storage too. And that's really it, apart from the big surprise when it first came out, that this device on the bottom also arrives with M2 NVMe SSD bays. These allow you to take advantage of SSD caching. Now, SSD caching gives you an enormous performance benefit in terms of read and write. Now, with this device, if you installed 4 hard drives inside this device, the best you're going to get externally, that's connecting via those LAN ports at the rear, is 2 gigabit Ethernet, so around 200 to 220 megabytes per second outside. But thanks to those NVMe SSD ports inside, you can vastly improve the internal operations of this device. So we've done tests on previous videos where inside this device we installed a series of hard drives inside and then committed lots and lots and lots of read-write operations at once. Then we installed an SSD in the base of this device, or 2 of them. We did 2 different versions, and with that it vastly, and I mean 20, 30 or even 40% depending on the size of the files, improved speeds of all of those internal operations. But it is worth mentioning that even if you install SSDs inside the base of this device, you will only see those benefits internally. You won't be able to take advantage of that speed externally and think you've got quicker access outside, because you will always be restricted by the 1 or 2 LAN cables you connect on the rear of this device. And that is the DS918 Plus. So let's have a look at the QNAP. Now the QNAP, if we move that in, the QNAP, a little bit more of a compact chassis, a little taller, but a little narrower too. On the front of the device, we've got a USB 1-touch copy button, so we've actually got a button on this as opposed to the automatic setup that you have to do on the Synology. On top of that, LEDs for system and access, and a power button at the top. If we click that slider on the side, the front of the device slides straight off, and we can see 4 hard drive bays inside, along with an LCD panel that gives us real-time information, IP information, temperature and more, all on this little screen here that you can navigate through. If we go to the bottom of the device, you can open that up, and we've got click and load hard drive trays, and that's 2.5-inch screw holes there as well. And on the side, click and load trays, little clips that let you attach hard drives and install them without having to use a screwdriver. Once again, very similar to that of the Synology. It's also worth mentioning that I've just made a giant error there. There is no LCD panel there. I got that mixed up with the TS453B, not the BE. So I hope you can forgive me for that. At least I spotted it now before you had a go at me in the comments. If we look at the side of this device, we've got ventilation there, and on the other side of the device, further ventilation there at the top, and at the base of the device, further ventilation. So lots of ventilation on the side of this device. Now, if we look at the rear of the TS453BE, we can see a number of similar things to that of the Synology and some more extra bits. We've only got the 1 fan, and this 1 fan can have its RPM adjusted up and down, just like the Synology. On top of that, all LEDs can be dimmed up and down as needed. We've got 2 LAN ports, just like the Synology there, and we've got USB ports, but this time we've got 4 of them on the rear. So including that one on the front, that's 5 USB 3 ports. And on a QNAP, the USB 3 ports aren't just for UPS's wireless dongles and external storage. You can attach keyboards, mice, Bluetooth dongles, wireless dongles, all kind of different things can be attached to these. I mean, there is a very little limit to this, and if you install a virtual machine on this, which this hardware is capable of doing on both devices, you will be able to utilize those USB ports for even more stuff. And indeed, QNAP have their own USB to 5GB adapter coming very, very soon that will be able to take advantage of some of these ports here and give you 5 gigabit Ethernet. On top of that, we have 2 HDMI ports here that let you directly access the content of your NAS and your media, as well as your surveillance and other applications, directly over HDMI. And you can use the infrared remote control or the free Android or iOS application to control the NAS with your mobile phone while it's connected to your HDMI TV or monitor. We've also got microphone and speaker port here for audio in and out, and you can utilize this device for frigging karaoke for free as well, which is incredible. You have a speaker here on the rear that can be used for outputting audio, which is terrible because it's only a tiny speaker, but it also gives you audio notifications and verbal notifications to the health of your device and your drives. And finally at the top, a PCIe slot. Now this is a big deal, because although the Synology arrived with that SSD NVMe slots, which is incredible, you can either add NVMe SSD slots to this with the QM2 card series, or you can add 10 GBE dual 10 GBE ports or more. This is incredibly expandable. And what that means is, if you use one of the QM2 cards that arrives with 10 GBE and SSD slot on board, which retail for between 150 and 200 quid, and install it inside this device, you have now got a device, although you've spent an extra 150 to 200 quid, which has got that incredible performance benefit internally of SSD cache that we discussed earlier, but 10 gigabit Ethernet out, which means you can edit files on the fly on this, or have 10 times the usual network speed to this that you would get from 1 GBE. And if you use SSD cache, you remove the internal bottleneck of your storage, and you've removed the external bottleneck too. And that's what I mean about QNAP. They are the innovators of hardware in this industry. The Synology definitely has a lot of advantages in terms of software, but in terms of hardware, QNAP have always kind of ruled the roost on this. And that's really the main differences between these two. I keep saying it on these videos, and I will continue to say it. Despite the fact there isn't any new desktop, home and business forebays like these two announced at the moment from both these brands, these two are pretty much the main ones for you guys out there. And for software and for easy access and first-time NAS users, the Synology is going to be very, very appealing. Its selection of first-party apps is great, and its support of some third-party apps is pretty good too, as well as Plex as well. With a Plex Pass, you can take advantage of hardware transcoding. On the QNAP, you've got the same hardware and more that you have on that Synology for the most part, and a great selection of first-party apps. Not as good as the Synology first-party apps, but still pretty damn good. And for me, that's kind of the main point. Because if you're going to use your own proprietary apps, if you're going to be using client hardware on your PC or Mac system, and this is going to work as a fast-acting network or internet-level storage device, this is incredibly appealing to you. The operating system, QTS, is a lot more like Android and Windows systems, and the configurability of your storage, right down to the file level, is far more adaptable on that QNAP, whereas on the Synology, a lot of the harder choices are hidden, which may sound good until you need those choices and you don't want to run by the defaults. Then it can become problematic. But this has been a revisit of the DS918 versus the TS453BE. It's not really about what's better, it's about what's best for you. I hope you've enjoyed this. If you've got any questions, then do let me know in the comments. Visit span.com to get your hands on your new NAS storage, or visit me at NAS Compares to learn more. Thank you so much for watching. Don't forget to like and subscribe, and I'll see you on the next video.